So, Terraria 1.4 added Master Mode, said to be the hardest difficulty, making everything a challenge. Don't believe me? Just look how evil this bunny is. Oh, and all the deaths too. So join me as I complete all of Pre-Hardmode, that's everything up to this fleshy boss right here, in Master Mode for the first time ever. I think it's gonna be pretty easy. Right off the bat, I knew what to do. Chop trees. Aw man, it's already cliche. But then I realized you could get extra items from hitting trees in 1.4, so I did some exploring and got destroyed by a vulture. Look, it even says so right here. Unhappy with my first death, I went back to claim what I lost and continue adventuring, only to be massacred by a sand ball. Needless to say, Master Mode to begin with seemed pretty unforgiving, so I did what any sane and normal person would do and put some cactus on my face and built a house for myself in the guide to wait out the night like a little bitch. Naturally, with my first two defeats, I decided to gear up and get ready to defeat the first logical boss, King Slime, Lord of the Jelly Globs. I built a few more houses and went adventuring deep into the world to gather new equipment, and while I was at it, I found out that the ice biome is full of traps. Like, a lot of traps. But using my stool to assert dominance over the Terraria FooVerse, I managed to come out from adventuring the underground a new man. I began maxing out all my mana before even getting one life crystal, and on my travels I picked up a musket to help me through the bulk of Pre-Hardmode. But before I could enjoy myself, the goblin army decided to invade my world and stop my quest to defeat the homie Big Slime. So like the chat I am, I defeated the fan favorite goblins and then summoned in King Slime, and then also defeated him too. Really easy fight, even if I only had iron armor and some ancient shadow greaves. The next stop was the Eye of Cthulhu and Eater of Worlds, two bosses directly tied to progression. I initially wanted to summon in the eyeball first, after getting all the necessary upgrades I saw fit, however, it had other ideas and decided to stalk me in the middle of the night. To my surprise, this is where I began to realize Master Mode is actually kind of easy because, being what I would consider under-equipped for this fight, I managed to take down the Eye of Cthulhu rather easily with basically just a musket. So if you're having trouble with this boss, go break some balls underground and give it another try. Running off the high of beating the Eye of Cthulhu multiple times, I decided I was ready for the Eater of Worlds. How hard could it be? The first time I ever fought this boss, back in 1.2, I only used the War Axe of the Night and took it down by literally standing still backed up against a corner. So I summoned it in and, well, my ego was absolutely shattered, but I was left with a few shadow scales, enough to create the Nightmare Pickaxe, which means, having stolen the one thing that makes the Eater of Worlds special without beating it, I can now progress to the underworld and collect Pre-Hardmode's strongest material, Hellstone. Doom Guy would not be happy right now. So I crafted myself some obsidian skin potions and made my way down to the underworld the best way I knew how. Explosives. Hilariously, I came out of hell with 420 Hellstone ore, and it must have been so funny I forgot to get obsidian. So I went down and got about 300 of that, and then crafted myself 140 Hellstone bars, enough to make pretty much everything I needed, so I did. Having clad myself in Hellstone, I ventured forth back into the toxic wastes of the corruption and challenged the Eater of Worlds once more. Except this time I have the strongest armor in Pre-Hardmode, with Jester arrows that deal piercing damage, which just so happens to be this boss's biggest weakness. So naturally, the Eater of Worlds will no longer be eating any more worlds. And now having this lovely statue and placing it down with the others, I realized the platform is not centered. Will I fix this game-breaking issue? Stay tuned. I decided it was time to take down Queen Bee. Did I try? Absolutely. Did I succeed? No. But I came close. Needless to say, a bit more preparation was needed, so I saved up enough money to buy the mini shop. Now it was time for a rematch against Lord. Oh, also, somewhere along the way, I found Pre-Hardmode wings, the same ones from Journey mode, but just hanging out in a sky chest, and also managed to max out my health. Heading back to the jungle after a lot of preparation, I created a queen bee summon and used my MLG quickscope tactics to dwindle her health down while my summon took care of the bees that she spawned. It's really hard to distinguish her attacks because the bees are like 2 pixels total and the stingers blend in with the background. Regardless, with some good timing, I took down Queen Bee twice and then died on my 3rd attempt, hoping to get the bee's knees. Now, remember how I said we'd make a stand for those boss trophies? Well, after a lot of hard work, here it is. At this stage, I have all that I need to beat the Wall of Flesh, but Master Mode adds a little detail just like Expert Mode, where after the Wall of Flesh is defeated, all enemies gain more health and deal more damage. I'm gonna deal with Skeletron now rather than later. I built an arena and used peaceful candles to reduce mob spawns, which kind of works, and then waited until night to battle the boss. Not before long, however, I took out Skelly Boy's hands and I thought I had the rest of the fight in the bag and started thinking about what I could find in the dungeon that would really help out, and yep, another death. So back on the grind to become stronger I go. I crafted some Terra Spark boots, fought Queen Bee again for the bee's knees, and then quickly realized that the bee's knees was much weaker than my Molten Fury. But on the plus side, I now have a ton of bee nades, which I can use to defeat the Wall of Flesh really quickly. Heading back to the dungeon and making the arena a little bigger, as I waited for night to fight Skeletron, I realized that I probably don't even need to enter the dungeon yet, and I could skip Skeletron altogether if I wanted to, but I went ahead and fought the Bony Boy again, and died again. My ego shattered again. I was now set on defeating the Wall of Flesh, and nothing was going to stop me. I extended the Hell Highway and then summoned it in. Only as I begun the fight, I realized that the bee nades were being wasted and they were going through the platform into the lava. Needless to say, I died yet again, and this time the guide too. After the new Hell Highway was built to allow for the bees not to die instantly in lava, I gave it another go, and after getting so damn close, I got torn apart by a laser again. Then I remembered that Queen Bee drops the Hive Pack, which buffs your bees and makes them stronger. So off I went again to grind for more bee nades, and then back to the underworld, properly equipped this time, for the 3rd and final rematch against the Wall and Flesh. Bee nades, Hive Pack, Meteor Shot, Jester Arrows, and even the Star Cannon were all items paramount to my success. I was determined to finish Pre-Hard Mode and take this fleshy wall back beneath the underworld, and then finally enter Hard Mode. It was time for the final rematch. With every tool at my disposal, victory was in sight, but as I began to run out of ammo, I soon realized that the road was about to end as well. And end it did, both the road and my life. Terraria sure is fun when you're forced to grind for bare necessities just to progress, right? Well, that's what I did for an unholy amount of time, and now I present to you the end of Pre-Hard Mode in Master Mode. The guide has fulfilled his one true purpose, and my world will never be the same again. Smashing multiple demon altars for fun, I press on to the spider biome and manage to snag myself not 1 but 2 poison staves and collect enough fangs to make a new summon staff and begin mining palladium, orichalcum, and titanium in preparation for the next video. With the big fleshy boy defeated and some powerful tools at my disposal, the true Master Mode begins. Pre-Hard Mode Master Mode was pretty easy, full of grinding to get all the items that I needed to get out of Pre-Hard Mode, but it was pretty easy, all things considered. It will be interesting to see what awaits now that I am in Hard Mode. If you enjoyed, please let me know with a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time for more Master Mode Terraria. Thank you all for watching, and never forget, the name is FooSarr.